Welcome, everyone. Good evening. My name is Sarah Audsley, and I am the Writing Across Media Facilitator at Vermont Studio Center. And if you are not familiar with VSC, here's a little brief bit about us. We are located in Northern Vermont, and we are a residency program for visual artists and writers. And I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that we operate on Abenaki land. We honor and hold in our minds the Abenaki people, their elders, past, present, and future. Thank you for joining us tonight for this special writer-to-writer reading with Nandi and Jonah Mixon-Webster. I'm so happy and psyched for tonight to hear these two poets read. I'm gonna read their bios, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Jonah, who will go first, and Nandi, who will read second. Jonah Mixon-Webster is a poet, educator, scholar, and conceptual sound artist from Flint, Michigan. His debut poetry collection, Stereotype, received the 2017 Sawtooth Poetry Prize from Ahsahta Press, the 2019 PEN America Joyce Osterweil Award, and was a finalist for the 2019 Lambda Literary Award for gay poetry. He is an alumnus of Eastern Michigan University and received his Ph.D. from Illinois State University. He is the co-leader of the PEN America Detroit chapter and the poetry and digital arts editor for Obsidian, Literature and Arts in the African Diaspora. He is the recipient of the Windham Campbell Prize for Poetry and fellowships from Vermont Studio Center, Center for African American Poetry and Poetics, Images and Voices of Hope, the Conversation Literary Festival, and the PEN Writing for Justice program. His poetry and hybrid works are featured in various publications, including Callaloo, Pennsound, Best New Poets 2017, and Best American Experimental Writing 2018. Thanks so much for being here tonight, Jonah. Our second reader tonight is Nandi Comer. Nandi Comer is the author of Tapping Out, Northwestern University Press, and American Family, A Syndrome from Finishing Line Press. She is a Canem Fellow, a Callaloo Fellow, and a Kresge Arts in Detroit Fellow. Her poems have appeared in Crab Orchard Review, Green Mountains Review, Muzzle, and Southern Indiana Review. She lives in Detroit. She also was a staff artist here at Vermont Studio Center, and both our poets tonight were previous residents at VSC. So it feels really, really special to have you both reading together tonight. All right, Jonah, you're up. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, Sarah. That was great. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really dope to be doing this event for Vermont Studio Center. I had a great time when I was there. Harlan, I think I saw Harlan. That's Harlan. What's up, Harlan, man? I need one of them shovels. All right, I'm not gonna take too much time. I got like 10 minutes. So I'm just do a couple pieces from the book Stereotype. This edition is out of print now. It's going to be coming back out on July 13th of this year with Canem and Penguin UK. So this will be a whole expanded edition and stuff. So let me. All right, I'm gonna just jump right into the first one. Hope y'all got y'all drinks with y'all, because me and Nandi, we gonna be sipping. Black Martyrdom number 6, Litany of the Spectacle. Come, guillotine, come, gallows, come, gas-soaked pyre, come, charred jaw, come, hot pike, come, hoary beast, come, ardent hunger, come, Garrett wire, come, death wizard, come, adze, come, axe, come, top rope, come, head knock, neck kink, come, click-clack, come, firing hammer, come, clank, come, bullet, come, wet smoke, come, slump body, bloody brook, come, bloated excision, come, slung wrist, come, wind rot, come, dead relic, come, unholy witness, onlooker lenses, come, click, 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 clack, clank, come, bullet, come, bullet, come, bullet, come, bullet, 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 pull. Black ontology number 5, black as if always the blues of a stridulated half note, night gristle, locust chirp, bold neck, wax lips, Wet stain, a body thronged hard and buried in the open light, the root of it dug up with a mouth stretched, reaching to scratch the noose from his throat and give everyone a song. Always I was a nigga. Bad at it. I was always being a nigga, even when I wasn't. I was a nigga. Somebody's eyes was always bad at being, even when I was a nigga. I was bad at being a nigga, even though I wasn't. I was bad at being a nigga, even though I was a real nigga, or a bad nigga, or a bitch nigga, or a fag nigga, which I always was, always been bad, always a nigga, though I was bad at it. I was bad. Nigga. I was always a bad nigga, kept me a hot nigga, always a nigga, it's always a damn nigga, it's always a nigga bad at it, and always I was a nigga, and always I was bad. And bad at it. Really, I'm a real nigga. Because all my niggas say I'm a real nigga, and I bet if you go and ask them niggas, they gonna point at me and say, that's a real nigga. Really though, I'm bad at it. I am. Really. In the figurative, I respond, man, this shit be killing me. And these are the reports. All right, so look, this is what happened. Old boy knocked the loaf of bread out of dude's hand up at the mini mart. These two niggas started arguing, and old boy left, came back, and then shot off dude's head like 12 times. Nah, cuz ain't nobody said pretty with that shit, cuz. Right, but I just wonder who called and told old boy them the dudes up at the store. Nah, cuz it was all up like 4 zips with some Kim dog, cuz. Right, didn't I tell you that? Wait, listen. I don't want them to do nothing to that boy mama just to get to him. That's my friend. She do my nails and shit. I would hate it. They killed his little sister the next day at the park. Shot 4 of them. Yeah, they killed like 4 of his people, cuz. Killed his little sister, his 2 little kids, and his brother. I ain't hear about that. Oh, y'all ain't hear about that? Yeah, and they blew that house up on Cherry Line too, cuz. Right, they blew Granny house off the fucking map. Shit ain't sweet around here, cuz. That's why I gotta be careful of who you touch. Yeah, because people got family and shit. It's getting ugly out here for y'all, Keontae. $100,000 when the dead or alive. Yeah, cuz. I mean, you can see his body right there, hanging. $100,000? The FBI, ATF, bounty hunters, goons came to my mama's house. All of them, and said $100,000 if you find that nigga dead or alive. Shit, ain't you gonna tell on that motherfucker, cuz? Hell yeah. Damn. They got the hood and white folk looking for the same nigga. There we go one. Hey, y'all ever heard of the myth, the nigga fish? You know, anybody in here like Greek mythology and shit like that? Anybody in here? Y'all ever heard of nigga fish before though? I know some of y'all probably heard of Sisyphus, but now you ever heard of nigga fish? So here go this little story about this old Greek nigga that all the mythologians try to keep on tuck, but there's a few of us that still know the shit. Hell, them and some of them old Renaissance artists have you believing there wasn't no niggas in ancient Greece, but it was a bunch of niggas in ancient Greece. And they wasn't all slaves neither. But anyway, now if you was ever in the Greek mythology, you know you had the gods, the titans, the nymphs, and the mortals and shit. Now this nigga fish was the darkest mortal anybody had ever seen in Greece. He was birthed as the orphan son of Aphrodite, who always be starting some shit, and some Ethiopian nigga who found his way to Troy somehow. Well, anyway, his folks found him and he thought he was a showed off black little nigga, so he named him Nigga Fish, trying to be funny and shit, because we all know what nigga means, but fuss comes from phos, which is Greek meaning light. You feel me? Well, now Nigga Fish grew up to be a prototypical nigga. He was too big, too black, too fast, and too smart for his own damn good. And so one time he was trying to go get to some booty. Don't really know who from though, but anyhow, he had to cross this river to do it. But the wind god Zephyrus sent this badass wind and knocked Nigga Fish off the boat. No, Nigga Fish can do anything but just about swim. So that nigga pretty much drowned and shit. You know, but anywho, All the guys was really mad at nigga for pretty much for no good reason, because he was too crafty of a nigga, and he started winning all the Olympics and shit. You know, he was kind of showing everybody up. But anyway, they thought it would be hilarious and fitting to put him in Tartarus and punish this nigga by making him roll a big ass watermelon up a hill for all eternity. Now the gotcha was, they ain't tell this nigga that when the watermelon got to the top of the hill, it was gonna roll back down. He was gonna start all over again. Well, this nigga was no, but nigga. So this nigga started rolling this watermelon up and down this hill for who knows how long and shit. Now this was another catch. They ain't tell him the watermelon was gonna keep growing. So nigga had been rolling this big ass watermelon up this hill, back and forth for all them Tony, who knows, right? And he wasn't no punk nigga now, and all that watermelon rolling had made him pretty strong. And one day he got the watermelon to the top of the hill and he rolled back down again. And this nigga got fed up and hungry. So he went down to the watermelon and punched it. He kept punching until he put a crack in the rind. And he split it apart. And boy, nigga fish just started eating that motherfucker, man. He just started going in on the shit. I mean, he ate everything. The nigga ate all the watermelon. He ate the seeds. He ate the rind. He ate the little stem. The nigga ate the label. It ain't taking no time to do it either because the nigga was hungry. So he was all swole as hell after eating this watermelon. And so he witnessed like the dog shit out of Hades. Wasn't nobody really trying to fuck with nigga fist after that. And he was hot, boy, I tell you. He couldn't think of nothing else but to put them trifling gods in their place. So nigga fist ran into Eros and snatched his ass up, demanding that he gave him entry to Mount Olympus. And Eros ain't want no problems with him neither, so he obliged. And when nigga fist got to the mountain, boy, all the gods looked at him and trembled about, shook the whole rock. But as soon as nigga fist started to cut their asses out, he started to gag. He was trying to cuss, but all the watermelon in his gut started to rumble. And all at once, it just came up out his throat. And all the force of that watermelon just split him up top to bottom, boy. Chunks of watermelon, rind, seeds, and naps laid all over Mount Olympus. Disgusted by the sight, Zeus beckoned this shit called a tetramorph to come through and lift the temple clean. And all the guys pretty much agreed that their punishment kind of backfired them a little bit. So they decided to use a rock the next time. Let's do some others. Nah, I'm still on this race stuff. All right, here we go. The real nigga mimics his right hand. I'm gonna say a little backstory about this. So I used to paint houses. I used to work on houses back in the day. Before I made it big in poetry. Whatever. But so I used to always go in different restaurants, different places, and people always used to see me, looking dusty, looking dirty and stuff like that. And I used to feel bad about it for some, I don't know why. Like, like, oh man, like I ain't really doing what I should be doing. I don't know, maybe I need to stop doing this or whatever. But I had one fella tell me, he was like, man, you look like money. All that paint, all that drywall on, you look like money to me. So I'm like, huh. So actually that's how I went on writing this poem. The real nigga mimics his right hand. And why else would a nigga's hands be this ashy? The only ritual I keep is hustle. First, near dead skin, sent searing, crossed, unhinged, crackle, crushed, nail hung from knob and gnaw thumb shaft. Finally, now the day is through. And this is how I know I put in work. A word every nigga know the business of. Bread double-fisted in a hand, dry from picking wall from the corner of a room. The body's ruined. A milked pebble at every hour. Dusty knuckles is a good hunch. Say pocket money. Say back rent. Say a chicken in a pot. Say, say, now look at boss. My hand's just as white as yours. Y'all should not have invited me to do this shit. I don't know who was in charge. All right. I'll switch it up real fast. I got time for two more. All right. Triptych in which the man is sometimes my daddy. In the first dream, the man runs past, dropping a black feather. He stops, turns back on his heel, leaning to pick it up, places it inside of my front pocket. My hands do not complicate the matter. In me is a hard edge clapped with rain. What I am, he says, is the thing he wouldn't have. When I pull it out, I am a fallow child. In the next dream, the man runs past, dropping a black feather. He is a crook. It makes me swallow it. He opens his jean to the light until I bend, until he is well bricked inside of the mouth that makes me. He swings my jaw with the bell of his hips. My head lies back into the knock. What is there causes me to look up, and I catch a dent of air in my chest. This is how I learned to say, water. In the other dream, the feather is a headless bird, and I am face down on the bathroom floor. Nothing is lit. The man's face bears the shadow. He takes me by the meat of my collar, turns my ear over to say a quiet thing. In the next instance, he is the only one erect, and the cutting opens a door in my gut, aping what's already in two. The ugliest nigga I know is the ugliest nigga I've seen. In the half-shine picture refracted by the glass, the sputtered window captures a Negroid catalog. Back neck, black, black, a flag of naps, black, black earwax, black folliculitis, black would-be empty holes in the eye, black elbows capped, black knees capped, black hand bones like that nigga been digging cold barehanded, black patchy crust from ringworm or another alien, alligator skin. The brother's mama yells out. The brother's mama says, Lil Scout says, yo, daddy got it too. Y'all in them heads. Once, a whole school bus full of fifth graders clapped and sang Parliament's flashlight. Because light-skinned Brittany said that nigga's forehead reflected the sun like, obviously enough, a flashlight. And that nigga ain't say a word. This is our last poem, Excursus, or Reverie. Light tricks itself from the rim of my sleep. A drink hangs my head through the gap of a thin bottle, as if for no ordinary reason. Two black birds collapse into the florid hem of this horizon. Now the sudden weight of it, the thresh of my belly, blunt puckered in the sun, with no hum nor cloud do I come to you, oh, object of your too soon body, oh, muscle of my timely end. If I had more in me, I would leave this thing here. The image that must cleave in its want. The weapon fully naked in one lop, I would scissor off the part bit by the ill horse in the house of no wave, in the breach. My hair is comely still and made for a man's fist. The man knuckles a sea of feathers, gives to the fleshy knot, my bull nuts, my loose scalp. When it is over, we will not tarry in our language. Quiet flings itself like a bass head on my back. The memory is kept on a thread I pull to speak. That is an attempt to lose the man you know is everywhere. This is an attempt at a Volta. Two niggas chase each other through a hedgerow where no one can find. Now, neither one is it. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Jonah. If everyone wants to unmute and give Jonah a round of applause, please feel free.
Yeah. Ooh, thank y'all so much.
Nandi, you're up.
I should go ahead. So I'm gonna try something a little different. I don't often get to do readings where I get to see the whole audience. If you all don't mind, on my box, there's a little 3 dots up at the top. And if you click that and you click on pen, the image won't go away, but turn on your video if you feel like you want to, because I haven't seen some of you in the audience. I haven't seen you in so long because I didn't get to Vermont that often, but also because we've been so distant. And so if you feel like you wanna like show yourselves, please do. Because oftentimes when people pin my image, it's just me reading to myself and it's so awkward. So, and if you all need help with that, let me know. But before we go on, Jonah, my love, thank you for being here. When somebody asked in the chat, how did we first meet? We did not meet at Vermont Studio Center, but we are Michiganders, and we as poets in Michigan tend to like float around and find ourselves in somebody's backyard. And I think the first time I ever met you, I got a bad memory, you can correct me, but you came into a poet friend of ours, Casey Rochacho's backyard, and you laid out a poem called Black Existentialism number 8 ad infinitum or ad nauseum. And it was this poem that I was like, wait.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
What? And he had it in pages. It wasn't in this book. It was in pages like this. And I'm going to keep turning because y'all need to see just how absolutely impressive. And this, if anything, this is to say, this is just an introduction of how these poems look in this book. They are, I'm not doing it justice, but this book, there's a reason why you blew up when you decided to start writing your poems. Fuck around, stop playing with these people and stop acting like you ain't done none of this brilliance.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's enough.
Thank you so much for that.
So I'm just gonna say that. All right, so I am gonna read a couple of poems from Tapping Out, which came out in May, in which I really finished the first draft of the full draft of this, maybe the second draft of this when I was at Vermont Studio Center. So I have a lot of gratitude to VSC and the space that you all gave me when I was a staff artist there. So I'm gonna read a poem, Negrita, which means what this definition poem is saying. So it's a definition poem, Negrita. Negrita, 1, a woman with dark skin, as in, if the Spanish girl is blanquita and the Indian girl is morena, then you are definitely negrita. As in, although the baby was born negrita, she is still very pretty. As in, we always tell a negrita from her knuckles, curly hair, and gums. As in, she has a nice figure and long hair despite being negrita. A term of endearment for a Black woman, as in, ay negrita, oh mi negrita bonita. The diminutive of Black, as in, not that girl, the one who is slightly more negrita. A young Black girl, as in, I saw las negritas leave for school every day, as in, this is a school for negritas only. Bold or dark lettering, as in, la negrita always stands out on the white page. Never type in negrita, it offends. A galawag, as in, why is that negrita in my house? Who invited the negrita? My little girl does not play with the negrita. Surely someone else likes the negrita. Black coffee, an Italian candy. As in, I held her in my mouth. She said, devour me. I kept licking. My sweet negrita, she repeated, my sweet negrita, open your mouth. So I'm super, I am a fanatic of wrestling. I just actually, my sweetheart introduced me to an app called Pluto where I can watch old wrestling matches, like 24 hours. They have a Lucha Libre channel. And I like lost myself for 2 days, but I'm not gonna read any of those poems today. So because I have other poems in here. So I'm gonna read poems that I don't often read aloud at readings. Gastas. Gastas is it's the Spanish word for the caste system that the Spaniards kind of built as they were realizing in their colonial conquest of building their empire and their riches through the world that they wanted to create separation just like how whiteness does. And so they created all these tiers of races as people intermingled. So if you had someone that was Spanish, white, and Black, they were considered mulatto. Somebody who was Spanish and indigenous was mestizo, and so on. So this poem is in parts, and every single section is titled after one of the categories. And I really, the one that like feels the strangest to me is the one that's like, well, there are a lot of strange ones. One is called like Lobo, which literally means wolf. And one category was called No te entiendo, like I don't understand you. Like that was like literally a racial kind of thing. And I was just like, well, I just wanted to explore that. And I wrote this after coming in contact with a painting called Lightning Lipstick by Robert Colescott. 1, mulatto. Face it, you are too dark for a hot pink dress. Round nose, round belly, round face, your dark face, your lump distorted face, your two-toned face, 2 shades away from doomed, too much history found under your skin. Face it, buckled bloodline child, where so much blood leads to lineage in that face, a not so fresh or pure or white like smoke. Face it. 2, mestizo. In a dance hall with my mouth, I grabbed a hold of a man by his lips, sucked his saliva down my throat. I was two-stepping. He said, dance, pretty girl. We were dancing. I moved my hips. He moved his. We sang with the band about a woman with too many men to think about just one. He stopped. He stepped to the right. I went left. It was nice. We were a song. It was a duet traveling up my spine into a maybe, but when I put my hand in his, the deep ridges of his knuckles were too dark and craggy. Ridges I could not conquer. I had to let him go. 3, torna atrás. Who told you to traipse down Fifth Avenue and not come back? Everybody has a hinting of color laid in the small of their back. Some Black grandmother tucked in their closet, and an Irish one too, and a French one, and I got some German somewhere back there. We all have a tangle of lines, a dying stock throating out a gluttural slave song. But you, child, you have always had my lips, my inverted hair. You have my naked ass. Tente al aire. Pero soy negrita. Pero soy latina. Ay, negrita, no te hagas, eh? 5, lobo. I got these 6 men with 6 stories trying to climb up my legs. One says he likes how my sideburns curl at my cheeks. The other says he like them light-skinned. One thinks it's best to stay in my neighborhood lest we run into his family. I prefer a man who thinks our thighs look like coconut water and milk colliding and running all over the sheets. 6, no te entiendo. Clip, 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 clip. Clip the nose, clip the lips, clip belly, clip hips, clip pigment, clip, clip, clip fingernail moons, clip eyes, clip dreads, clip afro, clip finger waves, clip extensions, clip weave, clip the batik, clip the kente, the adinkra, clip, 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 clip buttocks, clip brown teat, clip tongue, clip boricua, clip yanga, clip the chequa, clip more of the tongue, clip the tongue, clip more of the tongue, clip more of the tongue, clip brown hands, clip brown eyes, clip brown thighs, clip blood, clip blood, clip blood, clip blood. And so I'll read, I'm gonna read 2 more from here and 1 new piece if you all don't mind. It's another poem written after art, The Art of Spirit Submission. It's an Ars Poetica, a poem about writing, and it's after Renee Stout's New Orleans 2008 through 2010. What divinity's piecemeal is holy, unholy, and undone. I once saw a man mounting. He danced in circles, reared his head, trembling and golden and gone. I've seen a spirit ride a man for 4 hours of a Chicago night in a murky basement. Yemenya lit him up, took his body, tied her dress around his hips, feasted through his mouth. I take the rouge shard root, hold its leafy hands under my floorboards. I dare not ask. I sweep plantain with smoke. I dare not beg a worship song. The whole of occupancy is to submit. Give the body into hallelujahs. I am derailed, effaced, seized. I want to use my words, up and shaken, to be mound, to be stripped. I am gone, unraveled and reassembled. This muddy vessel business is to unwind, turn over like lace, tied fibers. To attempt to maintain my name is not veneration. The urgency of chant and drum grips me. I flick the heavy words as if the sacred, the not so sacred, and the things that fall apart under the slightest shadow ring me. I cannot be taken unless I let them come. And then one more. A lot of people wonder about this collection having so many Spanish words and why I rely on Spanish, why I look to Spanish so much. And I was raised in a bilingual school, so I want to read this poem. I said I was raised I started school from kindergarten that was bilingual in Detroit. And so I've always had the language, and I just wanted to have a poem in here that tried to explain to people why I'm always speaking in Spanish. I don't know if it does that, but Learning to Roll Our Tongues, Detroit, 1986. Miss Alvarez flicks up a flashcard and shows us a faded red sphere. 2 leaves cling to its stem. Manzana, apple, all together we say it. She nods, smiles. We sit cross-legged We sit cross-legged, her rug with a map of the world frayed under us. Our upturned eyes set on her pictures, we wrap our brown lips over her florid sounds, flicking the fruit off our tongues. Oso, bear, no breakfast before school. Our mothers have sent us to repeat Spanish words. We suck. The sugary heads of animal crackers for midday snack, the small cookie bodies softening in our mouths. Some of us sneak extra cookie bags. I've stuffed mine in my pocket for later. One time, Lawrence choked from trying to swallow a lion whole. The word plátano, banana, is easy on our teeth. 2 blocks away, a man knocks a woman to the ground. Libro, book. The man is one of our fathers. Cerdo, pig. His dry hands tighten around her throat. Mariposa, butterfly. We mimic our teacher's pitch, curl the P out like a pout. Gato, cat. We are anchored to the rug's blue, red, green, azul, rojo, verde. He hits her again. Her knees scrape pavement. España, Angola, Japón. I trace my fingers over each country's translated name. I imagine the sounds at each border. She tries to escape. No one stops his hitting. Pájaro, bird. A robin stares sideways from our teacher's card. It does not sing. It does not know trees, nor nesting, nor migration. So I don't know about everybody else, but I tend to be very angry this whole 2020, 2021 starting, even though like there's all this hopeful shit going on. And so I've been writing a lot of responses to kind of stupid things that people have said to me. And recently, I've been getting asked to talk. People have been asking me about Detroit, as usual, because I live in Detroit. I'm from Detroit, and people always ask this question. And it was a particularly someone who was writing a story about Detroit, writing a longer piece about Detroit. But it was a question that everyone asked that I think is like just one of the most unoriginal questions out there. It's, what do you feel like people get wrong when they try to tell stories about Detroit? Everything. The calligraphy of a joyride scrolled and spinning at every street corner. Driving out of the way to go to your familiar liquor store, the murals memorializing our loss, or the one towering face of a woman rocking an old English D as big as your face. Everything. You've forgotten 6 a.m. tamales in Southwest, West Side bare knuckle fight clubs. If you aren't careful, you will miss the bedazzled clustered of red hat club ladies gathering for third Sunday brunch. The Rainbow Casino beckons the luck-thirsty beggars. Outsiders never say river, and you are an outsider. Say it. If only to see the motor, if you only see the motor, you might forget gators and Coney Islands. Every sad sag in our old porch is from the weight of a good grill or a nighttime rib cookout. There is a street where a man has piled shoes around a collection of vacuums. He lives in a polka-dotted house. We call it home. Careful not to forget our affinity for the elaborate and bright. Our weekend outfits, our laced and gold gild shine. Everything you are thinking is not enough. Every shrub, every face, every burnout building is not a conjuring to be storied. We are a slighted bunch, a forgotten myth. Come, sit in our open-faced burger of a city, find the fantasy between our children's teeth and a summer torrential storm. Where is your story? Take a seat, listen. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was so beautiful.
Here's to you.
I'm inviting everyone to unmute and give our two poets a round of applause.
Wonderful.
Hey, Tommy.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Both of you.
The floor is open for any discussion between Nandi and Jonah, and then also, questions that can get dropped in the chat, or we can also facilitate it just in the room, depending on if that's okay with Nandi and Jonah.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I have a question for Jonah. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I've never gotten a chance to ask you because I don't think we don't talk often afterwards. I was thinking about, where do you start? Do you start in the vocal narrative space? Because so much of what you do doesn't live just on the page. Like, we can't experience it unless we hear you performing it, in a sense. And I don't want to say just performing, but I want to think about the narrative making, that live narrative making that you're doing. Where does it start in that place? Does it start on high? Because then you take it to this performance space on the page. And so I'm curious where you start with what was your process with this collection or with the stuff that you're doing now?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's so weird. Sometimes it just, I don't know where that should be coming from. Somebody to be completely honest. Sometimes let's say that piece, the concrete one that says niggas for 10 pages or whatever, that just came from a prompt from one of my professors at the time, who was one of my good buddies, Walter Dario. He's given us a prompt to write a 1-word poem. And so I'm like, what about a 1-word poem that don't end? And then, I was trying to take it to it, and I'm like, I always got to try to do a little extra, put a little extra on it. I'm like, what about a 1-word poem that don't end? And then I was thinking, I'm like, what's a word that just won't end? It just doesn't stop. Oh, the N-word. Oh yeah, nigga. Yeah, a word that's going to, it keeps going on and on and on. And then so I ended up titling it, ad infinitum or ad nauseum, either to go on and on for forever, or to go on and on forever to the point that it makes you sick, right? And so then I ended up making a sound piece for it. I don't know. So sometimes it just gets weird how it kind of starts. I think with like, usually for me, I think it's a conception, right? I'm super conceptual. So it's like, what am I trying? What's the thought, or what's the new perspective, or the way in which I can kind of change or move people's minds around in different spaces. How can I supplant one's mind into an experience that I just went through in the street? Most of the stuff is all about me writing about Flint, just the experience I was coming from. Thinking about, what do I do when I held all this trauma inside my body? I have all this violence, I have all this anger, I have all these, all these frustrations, I have all these sadnesses. And so, like, most of the time, like when something comes out, or I'm like, okay, that kind of stuck. It's an idea, it's like I found an idea that let me get some of the trauma out, or there's an idea that was the vehicle for getting some of this anger out. There's an idea that was a vehicle for getting the sadness out. Yeah, did I answer the question?
No right answers here. But thank you. That really, it definitely, I mean, I just have felt every time I see you read, every time I read your work, I hate, for lack of a better word, it's an electric feeling. It stirs me so much. So that's why I was curious where you be at when you get it. That invocation, it's spirit work.
Yeah, and I ain't know how to say it, but yeah, a lot of this stuff is conjuring. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I hear voices and they tell me what to write, and I'll write them on the page. But sometimes that's how it happens. That's actually how it happens. And it's like there's it's another voice there, something else that's there that's like, all right, now say this. All right, we'll do that. Oh yeah, they put that hauntology thing in there. Yeah, like, so on that essay I kind of write about like just this weird hauntological stuff, like this ghostly ass stuff that be happening in my life, and I think it's kind of coming from there. But yeah, thank you for that question though. It's a hard one. I'm curious to, one thing I was really curious to ask you about was, because one of the things I love about you, we share a lot of things, besides we got the poet thing, we got the wrestling thing, and we got the DJ thing, so we connected, we meet on a lot of different levels. And so I'm interested and curious to know like your DJing practice and your poetry practice, like how do they fit in the same space, or how do you make work with them in the same space in your body? Are there times when they might clash, when like the DJ, you might like, oh, I want to hear this thing, or the poet, and he's like, I want to hear this, like, do you feel like you have like a poet ear and a DJ ear? Do you feel that's working in the work differently sometimes? Or are they kind of like, you got integrated ear?
So I think that they are, I think that one thing about me is that I think about how can you broadly be thinking about anything and taking in things in study, right? So like, I want to read broadly as much as I'm listening broadly. So I have been listening, everybody's trying to meditate, but I, for a long time, have listened to like those kind of cheesy calming CDs and stuff. But I also I love listening to music that I don't know the words. I'm very much interested in music that comes out of the African diaspora. So most of the time you'll hear like, not just like R&B, hip hop, Afrobeat, making sure that I'm in East Africa, South Africa. I'm in Spain listening to flamenco, and then I'm listening to people who are who listen broadly too, who are making use of all these genres as well. And like, what no better word than to say fusion, though I try to keep it out of the cheesy world, so I feel like that with reading. And so I'm like, I think that like trap music is just as important as listening to classical music. I think that listening to like gospel, I think that listening to the black Black arts movement poets and, you know, classical, like quote unquote, classical European poets, and then reading for Obsidian Review, which gets a lot of African voices involved. Like that really feeds the broad stroke of where poetry can go. And so like one of my favorite poets is Szymborska, and like one of my mentors introduced me to her, and I'm just like have not let her go since. And so I think that it's important that, you know, in order to be able to produce something original, you need to be thinking broadly about how everything is going. Now, DJ Nandi, I'm very compartmentalized. Some of my friends have heard me refer to like lumberjack Nandi, DJ Nandi, poet Nandi, teacher Nandi, you know, like I'm very compartmentalized, and I am so compartmentalized that even in my living space, like I have a room for DJing and a room for poetry, because it's really hard for me to be working on those at the same time. But the one thing I won't ignore is that I am not a DJ if I hadn't have been a poet, because I learned how to DJ studying techno for the Techno Poetics project that I worked on, where I wrote poems about techno poetry. And I was interviewing all these DJs and like learning all about their life, and they were talking about reverb and mix, and I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So I was like, I'm gonna go take a class about being a DJ. And I learned it, and I was like, oh, I know how to mix vinyl now, and I really love it. And so I haven't let that go. And everybody, like I waited till I was like 38 to be a DJ, which is really weird. So I'm like hanging out with all these young people who just started. I'm like, I just started too, got my crate, you know?
Oh my God, I love that story. Like, I want you to I love that. Like, that's what I'm so really interested in. Can you say a little bit more about, you know, when you say you couldn't have been a DJ if you weren't a poet, or I don't know if I'm probably.
Well, somebody asked me before how I came up with Techno Poetics was that somebody kept asking me, like they were looking for a kind of heritage work, you know, those heritage grants where they're like, here's a grant for you to go study the heritage of a space. And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm really tired of people talking about Motown and Detroit. And I don't think enough people think about how poetry can be performative like jazz poetry. And so how can we make a poem that is as performative as techno if you're going to study the form of it? And so that's what I mean. But I couldn't have, like, I literally, like, logistically couldn't have even entered into the realm of being a DJ if I didn't question what the narrative that people were saying about Detroit for so long. And so then it did mean, like, once I started to learn about being a DJ, it meant so much more in terms of, like, trying to tell these stories. A lot of the poems from that project are direct, like, come from direct research from people who came up in the 80s and like developed that music, and also people who are still doing it now, because it's not like Motown, they're like up and left. Like there is still a production company in Detroit that produces more music, more Detroit techno than any other place. And there's still a pressing company here where a lot of records are actually pressed and shipped out of. And so I know I'm kind of nerding out on something that I really love. I know that's not really answering your question.
No, it is. That's what I wanted you to do.
It does feed one another, that kind of practice of, like, what words are working, what songs are working, what sounds are working, what mood are you making when you decide to totally change genres? Are you making this language make sense when you go between lines, or if you break a rhyme scheme, what kind of disturbance are you creating? And is that what you want in the room when people are dancing? You know, do you want people to be like grooving to Al Green, and then you all of a sudden put on Prince and people are like, oh,
right,
shit,
yeah, right, it's time.
I can't believe they did that. So I think that there is some similarities, but I think I don't necessarily, I am a boring compartmentalizer in that I don't be like, okay, I'm gonna DJ right now. I think about that when I maybe read that I'm DJing when I'm setting up my sets, but I don't know. That's
yeah. I'm trying to think through too. I'm like, I don't know how it works. I'm always trying to figure it out.
We got a few minutes. I wanted to see if somebody who's here, our participants, had a question before we like. Nah, okay, we can go. And say something.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Turn your mic on and say and ask us a question, y'all.
Oh yeah. Somebody say something. Ask about something.
I'm just still stuck on that line. Open face burger of the city.
Say it again, Harlan. What was the line? Is it the open?
I said I'm just so stuck on this line. Open face burger of a city.
Oh, no. I think it's some stunning lines. You want to talk about that line, Nandi?
I'm interested in the mess of an image. I like images that make people like want to know like what that metaphor is doing and how is it like oftentimes like I think that image to me is it's not just like an open burger. It's the fact that the word face is in there. So you're having to look at the face, but also open face burgers are gross and nasty, but also absolutely fucking delicious. And so I was thinking about like, you know, how, because it is a sound quality too. And I'm also interested in like being like, I definitely don't like just saying Detroit is an open face burger. Like that to me isn't as engaging of an image of if you like really collapse and really like pull the language in as tight as possible so that you like have to go through that image in that way. So I prefer those kind of metaphors over the, you know, the tenor and vehicle, you know, standard format of what a metaphor is supposed to be. I like to turn them into adjectives and adverbs more.
That's really interesting.
I have a question. I was wondering what you're working on right now. I know that you read a new poem that you just wrote recently, Nandi. I was wondering if you're going piece by piece or you're working on a project or where you are with what you're like ruminating on right now or working on for both of you, the questions for both of you.
I have said this all year that I have worked on projects for over 8 years. And so I am back to writing singular pieces and seeing what they say. It feels like I'm always writing about Detroit, so I might collect those, but don't quote me on that shit right now because I know it's recorded. But I hate talking about ideas because I'm not collecting anything right now because I am really anti-project right now. I have been looking at full project things for a long time, and it's nice to not have a deadline to turn something in, to be submitting again, and to not think I'm better than nobody. Don't nobody know who the fuck I am. I need to go ahead and get back to the grind and write a beautiful poem and be happy with that. Like, I don't need to think about the show.
Jonah. People want to know what you're talking about, Nandi. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, people don't know you. I don't know what the hell I'm doing right now. Like, I'm stuck. I'm stuck with this damn book. This motherfucker won't let me go. They're making me do it over again. I'm like, shit.
Oh,
I really want to put on it. No, it's cool. But it's like, no, literally, I'm tired. I'm trying to figure out something else to focus on or to do right now. But since it's coming back out again, that's only because my publisher went out. My first publisher went out of business. And this whole little weird thing had to happen. So now I'm kind of like reading the same poems for the past 7 years. And so I'm like ready to kind of get into something different, something new. But the only thing I'm looking at right now is trying to finish up some of the projects that's kind of already floating out there. Protocol stuff that I'm doing. with using my the dash cam footage from my arrest as a film, and then working out the hauntology pieces into a larger book. Other than that, I'm just trying to take my time. I'm trying to make an album. I'm ready to make some music. That's what I'm ready to do. I'm ready to make some music. Just,
I saw that you started a nonprofit.
Oh yeah. I started a nonprofit. I really wanted to try to help, some young creatives and, young would-be entrepreneurs from Flint. Just, give them some attention, so you can get some money, into their pockets, and give them some faith and inspiration to keep doing, what they're doing. Trying to think, we lost a really big organization and Raise It Up, which is an organization I used to work with who, we used to coach youth poets in the city and we'll take them to like Brave New Voices and stuff like that. We lost that organization. So it's nothing. So we don't have, an org that's, finding, new young poets or young poets, young writers, and try to inspire them and give them some experiences, in the field. So I was trying to fill a gap with that. And then, that's how the nonprofit started. But it takes some time because I'm in St. Louis. It's just...
Ryan coming in at the last minute.
That's a good question, though.
It's a good one. I understand if people have to go, but do you mind if we answer this one, Sarah?
Oh yeah, no, go right ahead, please. This is a great question. So Ryan asks, on that note about the grind versus the show, what's it been like to publish your book in this crazy past year where in-person readings haven't been possible, events are online, etc.? Thanks for joining us tonight online. Has it freed you up to keep going and just make the next poem focus on creating?
So I was never a touring poet. I think the most touring I did was like, I was at VSC and I went to like New York. Like I'm not a touring poet. I go where people ask me to go if, even when they don't have funds, because I really want to just connect with folk. So when we open back up, I definitely want to go out and read and be in contact and just do as much poetry love as possible. But this has been a really interesting time, just as a not only as a reader, but also as someone promoting a book, but also as an audience member, because I don't think that I would have been able to make it out to the spaces that have invited me to present because they're on the West Coast and I work full time and I only have so many vacation days and all that stuff that the grind always has you doing. I'm sure that like it has changed. It did change my plan. I was like supposed to tour Mexico this in 2020 to present the book along with the cover artist who is very rooted in the Lucha Libre community down there. And so we were going to do some readings at actual arenas. So that's like the unfortunate thing, but there's a lot of patience with that community. And so I think I didn't know what to expect. This was my first book and I'm not mad at it. I'm not like, I think I definitely read for some people that wouldn't have seen me had I been on tour. And I probably, am not going to think about what would have been, because a lot of other shit happened this year and I'm actually okay with it. I don't have the kind of, like fiction writers have that whole like, you ain't sold enough books, go out there and whore the streets and hawk your book. Like it's not the same. It's not the same when you do poetry. So I mean, and I will say this for all y'all that know me personally and have my personal contact, I have been sending books to people. I've been sending signed books to people in place of the book signing. Because that is something that I do wish that I could gift to people, is a personal note, because there are people who have like been supporting me way before this or the other book. And so I got 40 copies on in my bookshelf that ain't going nowhere. So if y'all want one, just hit me up. Jonah, I think is he frozen or y'all frozen? Somebody say something.
I don't know. I think
It's me. Hold on.
Jonah, I had a question. Sorry, it's last minute, but I don't know if you want to answer that performance online universe. Anyway. Yeah.
I thought that was a question for Nandi. I know.
Right, because of the book. Well, I have a question for you. I was wondering, because I read, I have to finish reading so I dropped in the chat a link to the Hauntologies of Slavery, which is in the Yale Review, which was printed in the winter issue, but it also is available online. And I was wondering if you could talk about was it helpful to write in prose versus, like, did the subject matter? Was like a different form of writing in prose interesting to help hold that essay?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you try to write it in poems or different hybrid, because it's kind of a hybrid piece a little bit also, but I was wondering if prose was really helpful to bring that forward.
Well, thank you so much for that question. It's the first question I've ever got to answer about it. The thing is coming out. Yeah, it was just so much stuff. Like I knew it had to be an essay, that essay actually was also the first chapter of my dissertation. And I was, I think during my dissertation proposal defense, I had someone say connect the work you're doing with paracolonialism and hauntology, connect it to your personal life, right? And I'm like, okay, you want to see this? You want to see? You're gonna well, wait till you hear this. You want to read about this crazy stuff that happened to me? So I was just a little kid, but and so it was no other way, I think, for me to try to capture all those complexities and all those layers of stuff, just even from jump. I couldn't write a poem about a psychic coming up telling me that she can see my guardian spirits and that they're standing. They're all men with a hand on the shoulder of the man in front of them till they get to me, and then immediately trigger a memory in me from when I was like a little kid, like 7, 8 years old, when I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I looked back and there wasn't nobody around. And I'm like, just having that happen when I'm in my 30s, my late 20s, have that psychic tell me that, I'm like, okay, this isn't, this, and then all this other weird, inexplicable stuff, and then finding the will of the slave owner who owned the Mixons from 1805, and then finding the slave narrative from Eliza Evans, who was formerly Eliza Mixon on the slave, and then finding myself in Alabama, where in the same state that my family, were enslaved in. And so it's it was just no, I don't even know how I could even do that in a poem or do that with the poem. And being able to just put the will and put the slave narrative and put them together like that and see those echoes that happen between the slave narrative and the will. It was just crazy, and you're reading, a document, and your ancestors saying, yeah, I remember belonging to the best master that ever was, Mr. John Mixon. That shit's hard. I didn't know how to hold that, or what to do with that. So, it just, it had to be in an essay. I do kind of do some lyrical things with it, describing what it's like when, you're walking through the Peace and Justice Memorial, and you're seeing these memorials to people who have been lynched, Black people who have been lynched, and you're crying because you saw one of your family names on a box, and you're trying to see if you can find other family members, and then people keep touching you, and and you have a white woman that comes up and just hugs you out of nowhere while you're crying, and it's I'm like, yeah, this is an essay. This is a lyrical essay or something like that. Yeah. So it's still hard. That's one of the hardest things I ever read in my life. Like I worked on. Yeah. Yeah. I was crying thinking about it. Like, it's hard. That was hard. Thank you for that question.
Thanks for answering that. Yeah, it's exciting. I think that it has, you could make if you're working on a larger book, I mean, it has like, there's so much there. It could be a full book.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Are there any like last minute burning questions or comments or for Nandi and Jonah tonight? If not, I invite everyone to again give a hoot and a holler and clap and just thank everyone for being here.
We did it! We did it, Nazi! We did it!
Y'all are amazing.
Thanks.
This is really great. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody, all the people I know and all the people that I'm meeting there for the first time, reading their names. And some of the people that I know your name because I read you. So thank you for coming. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank y'all so much.